Hello and welcome to show number 2 this week on Dojo Live, Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. My name is Kim Lantis, and it's my pleasure to be co-hosting along with my usual cohort, America Guerrero. Hey, Ami.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. And of course, today's guest of honor, the person we're all looking forward to learning from, is Madhav Khurana, who is the head of data science and analytics at rebuy, joining us all the way from Berlin. Madhav, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me here. Please excuse my voice not feeling in the best shape, but hopefully it doesn't become too evident.
If you don't say, we don't notice.
Yes, you sound great. Again, thank you for powering through even when you're not feeling 100%. Greatly appreciated. Our viewers, I'm sure, appreciate that as well. So what we're here to talk about, surprise, surprise, the buzzword of the times, AI, but how AI is linked to sustainability. So it's going to be a really cool conversation. Before we dive into that, however, Madhav, would like to get to know you a bit better. If you could please share your story, kind of what you're all about, your passion, and what's led up to your time with rebuy. Thank you.
Sure. So I'm Madhav Khurana. I'm originally from India, and I started my career in data science just accidentally because I was looking for jobs and mathematics was the only good thing I was good at. And I just looked for some jobs and
that's usually the opposite of most people. They're like, we run away from math.
Yeah, for me, that was the only subject I was really interested in. I'm like, what can I make out of that? So I studied actually electronics and electrical engineering at one of the premier institute, Brits Pilani in India. And after that, people expect you to have a job very quickly because it's such a good institute. But engineering wasn't really my thing. And everywhere I just got average. So you can say that, I did just enough just to have a good grades, but never showed any interest in this. Because in India, we have a saying that you first become an engineer and then you decide what you want to do with your life. And that's a path I followed. That's the path every Indian person follows. And I did that. And then I decided that, I need to move into AI and data science, where I can use my mathematical skills and at the same time also use my engineering skills that I develop in coding and software engineering. And then and that's took me on this path of data science, working with different companies. Started my career at this IMI Mobile. It's a telecom services provider. So I started as the sort of the first data scientist when it was still the buzzword invented by McKinsey, and then moved from there to work on Candy Crush games. Moved there just because I like Candy Crush, and they had a role of data science. So I thought, why not just go there and see what's going behind the game, and improve the player engagement with some AI-driven methods and algorithms. Worked well. And then I moved to Kareem in Berlin because I wanted to move to Berlin, and been working with Kareem. It's now part of Uber, so it's like the ride-hailing company in the Middle East, and worked with led the data science efforts in optimizing the space. And now for last 3 years, I've been working with rebuy, which I can tell you more later on.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think you're quite the global trotter there. I think it's a great story, and I'm really happy to hear that you found an end, right, with your passion. I think I wish I didn't have to say you're lucky in that. I think a lot of people end up doing whatever they can because it's the jobs that are available. And I think that's really fantastic. So congratulations with that. So let's dive into rebuy. Who are you as a company, and what's the problem you're solving?
Sure. So rebuy, just to give you some background on what rebuy, it's a used products marketplace in not everything, but few categories. For example, consumer electronics products and media. So the problem we are trying to solve at rebuy is that today is a very consumer-driven society, and the big challenges that we face here are overconsumption and waste. And because, as you can imagine, there are countless items which end up in landfills, and they are quite valuable, so they shouldn't be in the landfills. But we at rebuy are trying to change that by revolutionizing the way we think about pre-owned goods, because it's not necessary. People think that pre-owned goods are not really good, and we are trying to change that by making the whole experience very seamless. So to do that, what we did at Rebuy, we created a trusted online marketplace that grades all the products with expertise. So this ensures that you can trust the quality to be good when you buy it from us. And there are different categories given for that. If you wanted it almost like new category or medium category. And we do believe in the power of circular economy. Just to make it clear, what we trying to get is that we want to get people as much into circular economy. The whole world right now works in a linear economy, that we create something, use the resources, and then that goes into landfill. But what's happening is that's leading to a lot of waste, and we are not able to conserve our resources. With circular economy, we're trying to keep this a circular loop, so that any value that we extract from our resources, it stays as a value that we as an end consumer can use. And that's what we are trying to. We believe in the power of circular economy. We see that it's a solution for the world to stay greener and sustainable. So where we keep items in circulation and the lifespan extended. And we've been trying to do that, and actually we lucky to have more players also in this industry. But still we have a lot of difference from them, is that our commitment in actually being sustainable and making it as convenient as possible. And one thing which really differentiates Rebuy from other operators is also the use of AI, which I can talk about, and that how we use AI in ensuring that customer has a good experience. We first of all, we dynamically price products, ensuring fair deals, because if you want people to get to buy, you also have to provide them good prices, and also making the experience of operation side as seamless as possible.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's fascinating to me. I'm definitely not, a zero carbon producer. I do try my best to limit my footprint as much as possible. Definitely into recycling, reducing, trying to minimalize, purchase as few things as possible. When it comes to my electronics, I keep them until they kind of get obsolete, right? At least for me. And I'm not a huge app user either. So it's like, as soon as there's not enough space, right, for the few apps that I use to function, that and only then is when I upgrade. But I think that's what you're saying is also the exception, right? It's not really the normality. And, to your point too, you mentioned to keep electronics out of landfills, but not just because they have value, but they're potentially toxic, right? The components that they contain.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's very toxic, and the landfills that we see are getting filled up, and it's a big problem now we are dealing with. And as you can see, that now even these mobile companies, they're running out of raw material to create this silicon, like the chips that they're making. And so right now, even while we are still growing as a civilization, we having problems with these resources, which are essential for our development. So we need to ensure that we keep a close eye on how much resources we use, and leave some for a coming future.
I love it. And you already tapped into this a little, but let's dive into the specifics of today's show. The question that we're looking to answer, America.
Yes, the question is, how can we unleash AI's potential to transform the circular economy for a greener tomorrow? Please share with us the answer.
Mm-hmm. So how we can unleash that right now, sustainability, if you go outside and you ask people, do you want to be sustainable? Majority of people would still say that I want to be sustainable, I care for the environment. But there are of course some challenges. The challenges is that there's no much, the challenge is that there are not many companies who are letting you do that. And the companies, it's also challenging for the companies to exist, because it's not a sustainable business. There are companies like Samsung and Apple coming in your face, hey, look at this shiny new device you can buy. So, and on the other hand, if someone is like, oh, there's an older device you can buy. So it's also about that. So you're beating the marketing, but in the end, the customer, what they are after is that they want to trust you, they want to have a good experience, and they want to have a good price for you. And price being a very important lever in this business, because you're dealing with new products, and at the same time you're reducing the prices, because of course you need to be lower than the new prices while making sure that the quality is as good. And that's where the AI's biggest potential comes into play, that understanding the demand and the supply of the market, how much we are expecting the market to change over time, how our operations will cope with that, how the marketing can cope with that, and then having this possibility of what the future looks like and sort of forecasting it. and then estimating all the environment factors around it, like price elasticity, you can really figure out what would be the best price point, where you can not just make it a sustainable business, but also make it like a fair deal for the customers. That the customers, when they're coming in, it's not just for the environment, they also see that it's a better deal for me financially, and I can buy this used device even with a good experience. And which is AI's like biggest potential in trying to solve in this, having people coming into the circular economy.
No, go ahead. I was just going to ask. I think I'm understanding a lot of where you're coming from, but let's talk about the AI components and the data that you're looking at. And I think to help us wrap our heads around this, how does rebuy work? If you want to talk us through just like that story, and then all of those sort of different data components that you're able to play around with. Because the way I see it, you're analyzing so many things, and it's like, we're going to shift this now. We can shift this anywhere from advertisement to the operation to shipping costs. I mean, so many factors, right? So how does it work?
So just to give you a background on how rebuy works. So what we do get customers, it's a marketplace where it's a two-sided marketplace. So we get products from customers and we grade them and see how the quality is. And then we sell it to the customers according to the quality. And this is basically,
so I can be a seller or a buyer.
You can be a seller or a buyer. So it sort of works like an eBay, but in this case, it's better because there's a guarantee that the experience will be more seamless. You don't have to deal with different customers. You can get the best price for what is the best market price for what you're getting. At the same time, as a buyer, when you're buying something from Rebuy, you know what the quality is because there are 4 different qualities you can buy. At the same time, there's a trust. We are trying to build that trust by giving like 3 years warranty on your product. So you can be sure that what we are guaranteeing you is what is, because we are sure that you will be happy with the product. We are giving you that guarantee.
Yeah.
And so because as you can imagine, it's a very complicated process. We are getting from customers, grading it, and then sending it to the customer. It's a very operations driven business, and operations costs are very high and they're always increasing over time. So we also can use AI to keep this cost down. And so that is the way AI comes in picture. We see that we can forecast how much we really want some product. We also don't want to store too much that we cannot sell. So that's where the forecasting comes into picture, and we say that we already are forecasted here. Maybe we should try to reduce the number of items we buy. On the other hand, if we say that, hey, we see a lot of demand for this product, we should try to get more. So having a planning everything around products, expecting what's going to happen in the future, also helps it keeps the cost down in the operation side.
Yeah. I have a question, and please let me know if I'm not making sense. How does this circular economy how big does this circular economy need to be? Do you need to keep it locally or national? Because at what point is no longer sustainable because of the shipping and the capitalism? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a circular economy. It's an economy. It's like we're trying to make it as global as possible. Of course, if the situation arises, you also want to reduce the footprint of shippings, right? So ideally what should happen is that the whole world is thinking circular as a circular economy, that tomorrow if I'm giving my phone away, this is someone next door who I can give the phone to. That would be the ideal way, that you're just giving your used devices to each other to use till they're totally obsolete. And we want to be able to reduce that. That's why whenever we look into sending some what we are trying to do more now is that we don't have to we localize the experience even more. And then we bought this company in UK to have some footprint, so that any devices going from there don't have to travel all the way to Germany to go back to UK. So we are trying to also reduce that. Overall, the vision should be that everywhere we should have these centers where we are able to grade the products and immediately send it to the nearest person who demands the product.
Interesting. In terms of operations, what does this look like? Like a seller sends their phone to Rebuy, or it doesn't have to be telephone. I say telephone, but I'm assuming it can be tablets, laptops, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
You do like an assessment and tell them what you're willing to buy it for. Are there repairs that are involved? Cleaning? I mean, what is this operation?
Yes, it's a very intensive on operation. So there are 2 ways you can do. Great. So for example, there are 2 things you can sell. You have your phone, which you're trying to send away. So you go on the website and you say, hey, this is how my phone looks like. I think it's okay quality because there are a couple of scratches, or you can say there are no scratches on the screen. And then there's a functional part of it where you say it's working fine, the battery seems to be this much, I have the charger cable, everything in there. Or you have 100 books with you, and but going with the books, it's always more tricky because you don't want to write down and search 100 books. So you can use the app and scan the barcode of each of these books and keep putting one by one in the order, and then send all 100 books with the phone in one order. And then we look at all of them. The grading process is different for books, and because now, as you can imagine, we have to be extra sure on the quality of the product, of the CE products. In this case, phone has to be. So when we start that, we have developed this expertise over time, being the pioneers in this industry, like what we need to look at, how to streamline this whole process, and what really matters to the customer. So if there's even one scratch, it's going into the second quality grade. So when we say something is like new, it's actually like new, and we ensure that nothing ever changes, because we don't want this device to go to the customer and come back, because that adds up to the cost for the company, and also it adds up to, goes against the value of sustainability that we want to have. So whatever the customer is expecting, we even try to give it better than what they're expecting.
Interesting. Are some of the AI that you're using to help streamline this, is there like photo capture? Is there analysis and robotics that are divvying up the first round or things like that? How do you make it faster?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are, of course, using it, gradually increasing the use of AI in our grading processes. So we got this like a robot or machine, you can say, which is doing all this photo capture. As you say, it captures the photo using image recognition to tell you what the quality is. So this is based on all the data we have collected over time with all the people the humans who have worked on it. And so we know that like with this, we know all the training data we have. We can easily train the data to really give us what we wanted to have. It's a gradual process because it's still at a place where it's probably not going to get where we able to get with humans, but it's been a very nice addition to our efforts, and it's been working immensely well. And hopefully in the future we'll be able to get to a place where this is an even quicker process, that that we develop something that you can send next door, get it graded, and get what you deserve for that device.
Fantastic.
Regarding Rebuy Genesis, I saw on your website that when you launched this marketplace, it was before sustainability was a trend in Europe. Was it difficult to introduce it to the society back then?
When it was started, and I wasn't there, but from what I understand from like talking to the people who have started this, is at the beginning, the value that was given to the company was just about having something cheaper. That if you are, for example, if you have a game that you want to sell away, it started as just to trade games. So if you have a game that you have played, you can trade it and then buy another game from us. So that's how it started, and over time we are seeing that they saw that, you know what, it's not just about this. We can actually make a big difference in making people more sustainable, because we are providing them with a viable alternative from the new devices, from the linear economy that they have. And that's how it started, with a project with in the garages, like every startup, from like just trading games to something to where we are right now.
That's fantastic. Let's talk about how AI, your data science and your analytics are reading trends, and not just trends like in the market and the actual devices, but people and mindset. Are we able to predict that? I mean, like to America's point, or we're bombarded all the time about newer and better and bigger and faster. What does the data say is that the trend that's going to be continuing, or are we as people kind of waking up?
No, it is. I can see it over time that, like, because we can see the company is doing better, and it's not even with like this economy that when the people's willingness to pay is decreasing, they are actually moving more towards having used products, because it's cheaper and it's giving them the same value. So the mentality of people in being more frugal and being more sustainable is you can see that. And we also saw it with the pandemic. Like, people became more aware of the surroundings, became more aware of the environment we are living in. So that led to a big increase in demand and supply also, because people realized that it makes much more sense to be in a circular economy. Regarding the changes in environment factors that we are facing as a company, that is something we try to foresee over time. For example, we see that tomorrow there's a launch of a new iPhone. We need to prepare for it beforehand. We need to see that what we need to estimate what the impact of that is going to be on the market. And if we see that even when it's released, we have to also estimate how good this product is going to sell, because we see that based on when the last release date was, when based on what we see in the current parameters that we have within rebuy in terms of our stock situation with iPhones, we can see if the demand how the demand will be happening in the future. So all these things do come into play. It's not playing maybe as active role in how we do things, because we still want to keep it as sustainable and not just focus on profitability. So we want people to give and be more and more people to become a part of economy. So definitely these all parts play a small role, if not a pivotal role, in driving us to where we want to go.
It's interesting. Earlier in the show, you mentioned the easeability, right? How what the experience is like, the trust factor for your users. How is AI and reinforcing this?
So AI enforcing, we what we want to do is, for example, let me talk about pricing for first of all. So pricing, before AI, we got AI to do the dynamic pricing. Pricing was done by the people within the company who to the best estimates had decided the prices. But what happens is you can't keep track of everything, because it could happen that the price of your product is higher than the new products now, and that's not good experience. Customer loses trust with you. Another thing that can happen is your price might be changing too drastically over time. That's also poor for customer experience. Then you also don't want to have too many conflicts. Like, for example, if someone customer says, I think this my phone is the best quality, and we say, no, it's actually not the best quality, it's the second best quality, and we're giving you, that's a conflict. Now we don't want to have too many conflicts. So we need to have the ability to forecast or predict what's going to happen in the future, so that we can already prepare for that and give the customer according to what we think is going to happen. And that's where predicting the future and acting, being proactive in our actions, is what really makes this company a very data driven company.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, that is a really interesting approach. And we have a question from Antonio Suna. He says, hi, thank you for the talk. Do I have to be a big time seller, or can anyone offer a single or multiply products on your platform?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. So, if I think we always say that you should sell as much as you can, because there'll definitely be someone in the market who can buy it from you. Because I've seen people market who say, "Hey, I have this used phone from 2009. I don't know if it's of any value," and they sell it to us, and people will buy iPhone 4s and 5s from you. So I would say, if you have anything that you want to get rid of, try your luck. You'll find a good value with us, and you'll be able to sell us the device. Even if it's a one thing you want to sell, if it's a one book you want to give it to us, that's fine too. You can send us from this one small thing to anything, a huge number of things, and we'll be able to provide you a good experience and good value for money for that.
I love it. And what happens when, or how is your AI determining now what doesn't have value? Like, you know what, this is absolutely obsolete. This is
what are the standards?
Ready for the landfill, ready for recycling. Is that something that you're also leaning into, helping facilitate that phase of a device's life cycle?
That's actually one of the biggest challenges that we are facing in the company, that a lot of devices come to us which are of no value, because they're not functioning properly, or they are functioning properly but they don't meet the standards that we want to meet with our buyers from us. And so that's because our focus, not focus, but we are giving a lot of value to sustainability. We want people to still be able to give us those devices, so they don't end up in landfill, or they don't just stay in your house. We will still give you some money based, if even if the device doesn't meet the set requirements. So that's a challenge if when you look at profitability part of it, because then you have a lot of devices which we are not able to sell. Now what we are starting to work on it is, if we can somehow already predict if this device is going to be much worse than what we expect them to be, and if what in those cases, what can we do about that? Another part of that is, if we are expecting so many devices and we want people to be able to give us devices which are not working well, we should still buy them. And also, but at the same time, we can also forecast how much of them are going to come in, so that we can change our margins and prices accordingly. So that helps. That really depends on, where we want to lie in terms of being profitable and sustainable. Because if we go full on sustainability, then it's not a profitable business. So it's about to find that sweet spot that we kind of find. And AI helps you simulate a lot of things so that you can understand, and you can find that where the sweet spot is going to be.
With your technology, is there a way to predict if, for example, I have a watch and it's no longer like functioning, but maybe in the future it's going to be like gold? It's going to be something super value? Is that?
Collector's item.
Uh-huh.
No, right now, in what we have in our portfolio, there's no antique items, or you can say the people which are not about the value, but just about the, what's the word, that you're not able to easily get it, and now it has a super premium value. So the way the whole economy works for them, the whole pricing environments work for them is totally different. So even if we do get that in the future, the way we'll work with that will be different from what we have in, for example, with our operations and pricing.
Perfect. I cannot believe this. We're flying through this half hour already. We're to the final few minutes of today's show. So Madhav, I'd like to kind of bring it back to you as an individual. And what are some of your lessons learned that you have experienced on this path, with data science, analytics, AI, some ups, some downs? What might you counsel someone else if they're looking at this type of career path?
For me, the biggest learning while working at Rebuy is, so when I was working in previous company, I was working with big corporates and gaming companies, and for that time, the value was, hey, I'm doing something, I'm bringing you value, you're giving me money. But I learned that as much as I was wary of the environment, I didn't feel like what I was doing can make a big change in the environment and where we offer a better tomorrow. But this working here, I can see that, even if the field, be it data science or any small field, you can use what your skill set is, what your knowledge is, for the betterment of society and for the future. And that's what I did, was because that's how I found Rebuy. And so that's the biggest learning. Whatever your skill set is, you can use it and make a difference and make the world a greener, better for tomorrow and greener for tomorrow.
I love that. Yeah, like numbers, right? I think it's easy to think that numbers all come down to finances or something, but like we need math, we need science, we need analytics to make things greener. And I think that leads me to one of my final questions, and that's your ability to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you get it wrong? Like, what happens in the circumstances where the data, oops, it was wrong for whatever reason? How do you pivot there? And funnily enough, are you using AI to pivot when the AI was incorrect?
Well, I guess it depends on the cases when, what we are working on, because of course there have been failures in the past where what I developed have failed. And in those times, it's important to understand, first of all, understand as quick as possible that this is going to fail, because that's the problem with whatever we develop. You have to test it. And if you're doing an A/B test on your production, there'll be some losses you will make if you're failing there. So it's important to understand it's gonna fail and be prepared for that failure. And that's what we try to do. Like, if we're prepared, we know that if this is not gonna work, and where the pitfalls can be, what are the backup plans for those pitfalls, and if there's an alternative solution, we have to go for that. The very easy basic solution that we need to make, that can also be made at beforehand, so that you don't have to worry about pivoting, and there's a backup solution you can go after.
Yeah, I think that's like super smart. And I suppose, does this also speak to the, let's say, company culture at Rebuy? What does that look like in terms of creating a culture where one is able to say, I was wrong, this isn't working, and to have that culture of trust and the ability to speak out like that? What does that look like, or how are you building that in your team?
So we do, and we do in the team. How I do that is, like, I just talk to people, make it a very transparent environment, that everything you're learning, even if you invested like a lot of time. Because first thing I try to do is, if someone is investing a lot of time, like 1 month in working on something and it fails, it's bad for your resources we are having, and it's bad for you that if you're spending. So it's important that if you are going to invest time, have some stages which will help you adjust in some ways, that if this project has possibility of actually succeeding, so maybe make a very MVP of the product and starting with that and see how that works instead of spending too much time. Even then, after that, of course, there's going to be failures on the way, and ensure that there's a transparent environment. Everyone is talking to each other, getting help from each other. And if there's something, their problem that they're having, they can come directly and talk to me. And if I have to talk to the management, I don't expect them to go there, hey, this failed. I know that I will take responsibility for that. I will go in the hall hands tomorrow and I will talk about something we failed at, because that's still a knowledge we can use for how and we can improve over time.
I love it. The data guy, of course, we're going to use failures to improve upon the future. This is great. Well, thank you so much, Madhav, for your time today, for all of your knowledge that you shared with us with AI, the circular economy, for a greener tomorrow, and all the ways in which you and Rebuy are doing so. We wish you nothing but success.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely being here.
Thank you. And of course, I hope you feel better as well. And stick around as we go off air here in just a second. But before we do, we'd like to remind our viewers that on Monday morning at 10 o'clock Pacific, we will have our recap show where we talk about Madhav's show and yesterday's show as well with Agaru, and give you our takeaways from those and share with you what we've got coming up next week. Until then, have a great rest of your week, everyone, and stay safe. Bye for now.